All right. What am I streaming? I'm gonna actually do a full recap of my entire first experience with playing over the board chess at a chess tournament. All right. First, chat, say what's up to YouTube because I think I'm gonna put this on YouTube. Let me just fix this real quick. What up, YouTube? Oh, don't look at that. That's oh god. Okay. All right, welcome everyone. I'm gonna go over my first experience playing over the board chess. Um, I went to a chess event called the Tri-Valley Open. It's a monthly chess event that happens in the Tri-Valley, which I think it's like Dublin, Pleasanton, and San Ramon is the Tri-Valley, I want to say. I don't know. I'm from SoCal, so I'm not sure, but it was held at Wells Middle School in Dublin, California. A lot of children there. I was one of the very few adults, and I competed in the expert section, which is basically a rating range from 1200 and below, and that is basically where I had to be because I was considered unrated, which means I didn't have a chess rating yet. So, yeah, it was a good experience. I'm gonna go through some of my games. Definitely had a lot of learning opportunities, especially since I've never really played over the board. I wrote down all my games and I loaded them into chess.com, and yeah, let's get into it. Also for anyone in my chat who doesn't really like know chess that much, like I'll try to like make it kind of understandable, but if you don't know chess, like no worries. Just thanks for hanging out. I wake up, it's like 6 a.m. I gotta be there. Okay, it's like 7 a.m. I gotta be there by 9 a.m. That's when games start. I get there, very surprised. Everyone is like 8 years old, 9 years old. Um, all the adults are in the upper section, so I'm not with them. I'm with all the kids. And I'm like, not gonna lie, it kind of made me more nervous just because like now I feel like I got even more kind of something to prove a little bit. Not something to prove, but I was just scared of losing to an 8-year-old. Some of these kids are really cracked. So let's get right into the games. My first opponent is, I believe this person is, I don't know, maybe 10 years old. Um, Before I fully get into it, for anyone that I guess doesn't know how chess tournaments go, I'm gonna go over the format because I definitely didn't know. Um, like the format of the tournament. There's 4 rounds in my section. 4 rounds meaning you play 4 matches, and the format is called a Swiss. So every win that you get gets you 1 point. Every draw gets you half a point. Every loss gets you 0 points. And with each round you have like a running total. And I think they try to match you up with opponents of that same running total. So let's say after round one, if I won, then I'll likely play someone who also won their first round. And vice versa, if I lose, then I'll likely play someone who lost their first round. So yeah, um, that's kind of the format. If y'all got any questions, just throw it in the chat. But other than that, round one, I played with the black pieces. The funny thing is, in the whole room, there's only 3 adults, and I don't know why the coordinator did this, but they put all 3 of us all sitting next to each other against 3 really small kids across the table from us. And before the game started, one of the kids was like, "Is this kids versus adults?" Let's go through this game though. So my opponent opens with e5, e4, the classic, and I decide to go for the French, which is basically this setup where you push the e pawn and then the d pawn. And usually opponents will like kind of take more of the center here and go like this, something like this. But I guess according to the chess engine, this is the King's Indian attack. So I guess my opponent plays the King's Indian. This is all I know is the French. This is what I'm most comfortable with right now. So I just play it. I didn't do any like prep before the tournament. My opponent I thought this was a little bit of a slow move, but it's whatever. The point of this move is if I do in fact decide to trade, let's just say he didn't play that move. Let's say he played this. Now if I take and he takes, I can take his queen and his queen will have to move um, to recapture, and he won't be able to castle later on down the line. So actually, my opponent, very smart move here, plays plays this move. Um, I still went with trading. I figured I kind of wanted to open up the board a little bit, and I'm a little bit scared of kids with queens because I feel like they can get really tricky, go for like a lot of checkmates using the queen and their other pieces. So I was like, for this first game, let's see how I do without the queen if we just trade it early on. Um, we'll see if maybe later on, I guess as we analyze, we'll see if that was a mistake or not. Oh, sorry, Nat eats bread. Don't know how to play chess. You know, maybe watching this video will get you, get you more familiar with the rules. All right, here, what I noticed was this rook, this knight hasn't moved. This rook has nowhere to go. This diagonal looks a little bit juicy. This bishop is looking at straight up nothing right now. It's just like bumping into this pawn. So my idea here is I want to fianchetto the bishop, eye this pawn, and if he has to play something like push this pawn here, this bishop would come out and be on this super great open diagonal. Or if, say, for example, yeah, he does this, it also blocks his knight from coming out. So I thought this was a pretty logical move. He goes out bishop here, which I didn't really like from him. I feel like the bishop, it's a little stuck here. It's just looking at its own pawns. I still continue with my plan though, because if I don't put my bishop here, he could go pawn forward and my rook is trapped here. So I'd have to play something like this, which is just committing too many pawn movements early. So, anyways, fianchetto the bishop, and then he moves his knight. Looks like he's maybe preparing to castle. Wasn't too sure about that yet, but here I decide to clog up the center. I didn't like the idea of him eventually maybe pushing this and trading these bishops off, because I thought maybe my bishop was a little better putting this pressure on his pawn, while his bishop was worse looking at its own pawn. So I actually try and like kind of make sure that his bishop is just basically a glorified pawn here, just defending this pawn. He brings out the knight. I start developing my knight as well, maybe eyeing long castle here. I have not touched the kingside pieces yet, which is like really not good on my part, and you'll see later on that he kind of punishes me for that. Um, he brings out his bishop. I castle. He castles. This I was actually really surprised about. I honestly thought he was gonna do a castle this side and just use his pieces pointed like on my queen side to kind of attack and maybe do a pawn storm as well. I was kind of mentally preparing for that, but yeah, he doesn't go for that. He instead goes for the kingside castle here, and I bring out my knight. So this move, bringing out the knight, was actually, in my opinion, a mistake. And actually, we can see, I'm gonna turn on the chess evaluation. Right now, it says it's pretty even, and let's see what the engine thinks about my next move. Oh, actually, it thinks it was the best. I think it thinks it was the best move. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. I actually just really didn't like this move though, which let's see if it was the best move. No, actually, it doesn't like that move from white as much. You can see here in the evaluation, black is actually slightly better here. Um, I don't know. I'm not Gotham Chess. I'm not Hikaru. I can't actually evaluate it. But what I didn't like about this position is my knight is now pinned to my rook. And because of that, he has ideas of bringing out his knight eventually. And just in general, I didn't like this pin. The other thing I really didn't like was the fact that his rook is like staring down this long diagonal, and eventually he is going to pin that rook as well. And my king is on the same diagonal as this knight, and this is a very juicy diagonal for his bishop to eventually look at. Um, I'm not sure why this sounds like a BL. Oh, okay. And what I also didn't like was my opponent eventually takes my knight, And originally I thought maybe I could take here, but what I didn't like about taking this way is that eventually he would bring my king closer to the center here, and then bring his rook out, and I'd have to move out of the way. Well, this is what I calculated. I thought that I had to move out of the way here, and I'd be slightly behind in development with all three of his pieces developed and one of mine still lagging behind. Um, that is all kind of what I calculated ahead of time and what I didn't like, but it turns out I could actually, let's just say he plays any move, I could actually just bring my bishop out and I would have been perfectly fine here with this setup. Obviously, maybe knight here wouldn't have been that good. If we look at the analysis, black is still slightly better here. Wow. Even with the even material. So definitely miscalculated. Did not understand the position as much as I, you know, should if I want to get better. So, anyways, so I instead of taking with the knight, which I didn't like, I ended up taking with the pawn. And taking with the pawn here ends up being kind of annoying. Let's see if black is better here. Yeah, no. So I gave up my entire advantage. Unfortunately, now white is almost better by an entire pawn. Um, uh, don't again, I don't really understand why. In my opinion, this is like kind of playable, but I think these doubled pawns here are really gonna be bad for me in the end game. So I guess we'll see. Let's continue. He did exactly what I said. Now he's putting so much pressure on this pinned piece right here. I can't move it because, or I can't move my king. Otherwise, if I move my king here, he can just take the knight. And I can't move my knight because otherwise he takes my king. So this is considered a pin piece. I then start to try and figure out, all right, how can I unpin it? Um, I didn't like just pressuring the bishop right away because he could just take, and if I take, it kind of leads to the same thing that I was talking earlier, which I guess is fine according to the evaluation. But again, I didn't like bringing my king to the center. I wanted king safety, and this was my first game of the day. I didn't want an unsafe king. Um, so instead, I ended up, all right, this move right here, a6. I don't know if y'all could see this that far ahead, but basically my idea was I wanted to cover up and block off this rook using this bishop. This rook right now is putting immense pressure on this knight. But the thing is, if I do it right away, he has this knight jumping out right away. And you can see from the analysis that already white is much better here. So in order to prepare my bishop, kind of clogging up this this file, um, I play a6 so to stop the knight from jumping out first. Um, yeah, yeah. So during this, okay, so another thing that I totally forgot to mention is the time format during this entire tournament. We each have 25 minutes on our clocks with a 5-second delay. So what that means is every time it's our time to make a move, our clock is ticking down from 25 minutes. We do have this thing called a 5-second delay, though, which basically means that before our clocks are ticking down, there's 5 seconds that we have before our clocks move at all. So in theory, you have unlimited time as long as you just keep making moves under 5 seconds. Now I was doing all this in my head during this, and I was using a lot of time. At this point, it wasn't that big of a deal, but you'll see that time pressure will come in, will be a much bigger deal later on. So, anyways, continuing back to the analysis, I play a6. Um, Preparing bishop d6, and then my opponent brings his rook up. And what this tells me, this is called a rook lift, when you bring your rook from the first rank to the third or from the eighth rank to the sixth. He is, in my head, he's showing me that he's trying to put his rook behind his other rook and put even more pressure on this pin pawn. So I'm really glad I played this move so that I could finally continue my plan, bring the bishop out. All right, quick question from chat. Is the light squared bishop on c6 bad here? Um, Putting this light squared bishop here, I would say no. And actually, oh, instead of a6, so doing this instead. This, I would say, is probably totally fine as well. It still does favor white a little bit. So, like, let's say we go back and I play this. Actually, I would say a6, it says it's a mistake, actually. If you look at the evaluation bar here, we're at plus 1.4. Um, Bishop here gives us +1. So no, actually, your your recommendation is better than what I played. The only reason, in my opinion, I kind of liked A6 better here is because I kind of didn't want the bishop to be stuck doing a job of protecting one square, rather than just committing like a pawn to it, which is much less value than the bishop. Like I want my unimportant pieces. If I want a piece to be doing just one job, I'd rather it be an unimportant piece because later on he can maybe take advantage of the fact that this piece is babysitting this square, and somehow I'm not exactly sure how, but maybe he could take advantage of that by like you know just understanding that this piece is like out of commission. It's like only looking at one square. So yeah. Anyways, continuing. We go a6. He goes rook d3. Finally, I clog up the file here, and then let's turn off the analysis real quick. And then here, this move actually surprised me. I had no idea he was going to do this. He's now hitting my f6 pawn. And remember a whole lot of moves back when I said, oh, maybe taking with this pawn wouldn't be that bad. Now it's kind of showing why it's bad. This pawn is very poorly defended. It's actually not being defended. It uh it is pinned right here. So, oh, Zapro, that is a very good point. It's doing two different things. Very smart, very smart. Um Honestly, that is probably a move I should have considered. I think one thing I'm learning from this is if a bishop is fianchettoed, I need to not just assume it has to stay right here in this little pocket. It can obviously come out and like do other stuff. Um, but sorry, to continue. Yeah, this knight is pinned, so this rook can totally take this pawn. So I here I kind of panic. I don't want to play this because he's just gonna play this, and I'm just gonna be very, very stuck, very paralyzed, not gonna be able to move many pieces. This bishop is gonna suck. It's gonna be doing one job here, and his knights are soon gonna, I don't know, start hopping out and bullying me. So instead of doing that, I actually decide I'm just gonna sack the pawn. I'm also kind of running low on time here. So here I pressure the bishop, he takes, I take back, and then he takes the pawn. Now here I noticed his king is on a dark diagonal. He's on a dark square. And I notice he's obviously hitting this pawn. He can't just take it because I'll take his rook, but he has pressure on this pawn. So what I noticed was I can try and chase the rook away by moving my bishop back and hitting the rook. If he takes this free pawn, quote unquote, then I have this nasty trap here, bishop to g5, which puts the king in check and also hits his rook. So he basically can't defend his rook and defend his king at the same time. That is what happened. He fell for the trap. Here you can see by the analysis, black is much better now, and I have and it says bishop g5 is actually considered a great move. Um, so I was able to get the advantage here. And before that, actually, he was much better here if he just didn't take. He just had to see maybe the move rook back. But instead, bro was greedy. He took the pawn, and instead of taking a free pawn, he actually is going to lose a rook. So here, opponent saw this move, which I was prepared for, which is f4. And the thing is, I can't just take it like this, right? Because then now he can move his rook, or now he can trade the rooks, and maybe I pick up the knight in the end, or I don't know, maybe he goes here. Either way, but it gives him an opportunity to take a rook because it's not with check. I could also go this way, but then he could just take with the rook. And after takes, he also gets a pawn on the way out. So I calculated that the best thing to do was just leave the bishop, cause this pawn to become a double pawn, and that makes his position look much worse. So I ended up taking the rook, he took the bishop, and okay, so this, I didn't really know exactly what to do. I was considering moves like rook f8. I was considering trying to figure out maybe I could do this, get this knight out of here and take here. It was a bit difficult, and I was running low on time. So I decided to just put pressure on the pawn, which I believe is like kind of a big mistake here. Not a mistake, but it's a little bit of a move that just straight up does nothing, in my opinion. And you can see here that the evaluation actually thinks that it's a big mistake that lost me um, my entire advantage because he plays this move h oop, h4. And now my entire advantage is gone. I actually had to see the move h4 myself so that he can never defend this pawn. This pawn's going to be a goner. There's no other pawn that can basically defend it. But in the low time that I had, I played the wrong move, and now we're just here in a very and actually you can see I lost my full advantage and more. But totally fine. We play on. Um, my idea here is I kind of want to trade off the rooks. So if I play something like, let's say he just plays a random move, and I go here, takes, 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 then I have a rook and a bishop against two knights. Here in the analysis, it does prefer black. Um, so my opponent did not like that. So he plays, sorry, he plays knight here, which watches over this square and hits my pawn. So my opponent is popping off right now. He's finding every defensive resource. He's down slightly in material, but he's up in big brains, I guess. Um, I'm telling you, very cracked 10-year-olds in the Tri Valley. So here again, I'm digging into my time. I don't know what to do. I'm panicking. I go back. I defend my H pawn. He's bringing his rook out, defending his E pawn, which my bishop's been eyeing for a long time. Now it's super well defended, and it probably frees up one of his knights to start hopping around and doing its own thing, right? Maybe this knight comes out. Maybe that knight comes out. I'm panicking. Again, I'm panicking. I'm running out of time. I go rook f2, rook's on the f file. If I can eventually get another rook out onto this file, like if I can eventually get these moves in, I could start really bullying this king. But unfortunately, he offers a rook trade. I can't check. I could come back, but at this point, I'm just like, I'm up material. I should trade. So I end up trading the rooks. Takes back. And okay, so let me now explain why I went king b8. This might seem like a very random move. But right now, chat, I'm going to ask you, what is my arguably worst piece? That's actually maybe a trick question. All of my pieces are bad. Right now, my rook is guarding one pawn. That's all it's doing. My bishop is looking at a pawn that's already defended that I can't put any more pressure on. All my pieces suck. So I had to find a way to really optimize here. If you could pick up this bishop and put it somewhere else, where would the best place on this board be? In my opinion, it's probably here on the g4 square, so that my bishop can guard this pawn. It can be on this decent diagonal, and my rook is now free to move around the board. So, in order to try and get my bishop there, I want to get it there through these means, because obviously, how else am I going to get there? I can't take this pawn, so I'm thinking of going this way. Um, so I got to get my king out of the way. Get my king out of the way. The knight. So now both knights back, primed and ready to just hop forward into my side of the board. Very scary stuff. I have to be calculating moves and moves ahead to make sure that if they do this, are they gonna like fork my pieces? Are they gonna jump in my territory? I don't know. It's very scary. Uh, I go c6. Again, this move is absolute cheeks in my opinion. Sure, it stops the knight from coming here so that my bishop can come out. But what it also does is, um, now nothing is putting pressure on this pawn. Before, my bishop was looking at it, right? So they always had to have a knight guarding over it. Now, nothing is looking at it. So both of his knights are free to walk about the cabin. My pieces, again, they are absolute trash. If we look at the analysis, white, despite being, two knights versus a rook and bishop, is actually much better here. Um, so anyways, the knight comes out. Again, I can't take this at any point. I put my bishop back. I realize it's never making it to g5, bro. I'm going to have to trade it for the knight. He starts moving his king forward, and actually, this is where I mess up kind of big time. Whenever in the end game your king makes a move towards the center, or your opponent's king makes a move towards the center, you're also supposed to make a move towards the center. That is so that basically once all the pieces all trade off, your kings will both be primed and ready as kind of the last strong pieces to do, to make moves. They'll both be in the middle of the board ready to do whatever they need to do. Instead, I don't move my king. This is actually, in my opinion, a pretty bad mistake. Um, and actually, let's see if moving my king here would have been good. Yep. Apparently, it's the best move in the position. Sad. I did not make that move. Instead, I put more pressure on this knight, and you can see that the chess engine hates this move. This move sucks. Sure, I'm gonna win a pawn, but the king is so close in the center of the board now that at the end of the day, once let's say like okay, so opponent moved up with his king. He has an attack king right now. And after I takes, which is what happened in the game, his king and his knight are both super active in the center of the board. My king is like hiding at home in the basement, while my rook is out here naked with nothing else backing it up. So now he springs knight into action. Knight back. I finally am trying to bring my king in. Too little, too late. Knight forward, hitting my rook. Here I go here, trying to not allow his king to come and take this pawn. This pawn is my bread and butter now. I need this pawn to eventually promote into a queen. He pushes his pawn, which is scaring the hell out of me. I'm really low on time now. I'm probably at 3 minutes at this point. And okay, so before I continue, something I didn't know and something that I learned during this tournament is when you're okay, over the board, you're supposed to, after making a move, um, you write down on a piece of paper your moves. You can see here these are my chess notations. This is how I have all of these games loaded up in chess.com. Is I took notes during the match, and what I didn't know was when you're low on time, you don't have to keep taking notes. You don't have to keep writing down the moves. You can actually just play, and at that point, it's better to win the match rather than lose on time because you're taking notes. I don't want to make any excuses, but I will say my opponent eventually stopped taking notes, but I unknowingly just kept going, taking the notes, wasting time doing that, and now I'm in really big time pressure. So I I fork the rook and the knight, which I think is a good move. He takes my pawn. Oh, sorry, the rook and the knight. I fork the pawn and the knight. He takes my pawn. I take his pawn. Um, he brings his king in, and now I'm really frightened of these two pieces right here. These two pawns are what are called connected passed pawns, meaning these pawns can basically eventually hold each other's hands all the way down here and become a queen. And I only have one rook. If I take one pawn and the other pawn takes it, like if I take this pawn and the other pawn takes it, I have nothing else, and it's just gonna go and promote. So I'm really freaking out here. I'm bringing my king over for backup. Again, my rook is like all alone here. And he starts rolling his pawns. He starts pushing P. I can't really do anything. I try to set this up so I can maybe do this and it'll win both pawns, but my opponent, super sharp, sees it right away. Sees right through my tricks. And he just pushes his king forward. I bring my king forward, defending my pawn. In hindsight, maybe the move was actually to go pawn here, because now he is forced to take it. Actually, is that the best move? Let's see. Yes. Okay. Best move in the position was actually to just keep pushing my pawn, and in that case, I'd go here, here, and uh, and I just take everything and win the game. But time pressure, didn't see it. I'm in a time scramble right now. Instead, I just defend the pawn with my king. Horrible move. We are now back to white being at a. Oh, I guess white doesn't have a slight advantage, but definitely a mistake. He pushes this pawn. Opponent is playing really well. He's playing both sides of the board here. I just kind of mirror the move. You can see by the evaluation, did not like that. Knight back. Now he's hitting my pawn. Again, I should have pushed the pawn, and after takes, I'm hitting the knight. I'm hitting this. It would have been much better for me, but instead I go check. He covers up. Oh, did he cover up actually? What did he play here? Turn it out. Stuff. No, he goes king forward, which apparently I'm much better at. But it's at this moment I go one more move, defend my rook. He goes, which apparently is a blunder, by the way, because if he can just take here now and then take. Anyways, he didn't see that. Opponent goes h5, and I run out of time. I'm calculating here. I'm trying to decide, do I back up, try and catch these pawns off? Do I go up here, hit the knight? I'm a little scared that if he just sacks the knight and I take here, I'm just scared that I can't catch it. Apparently, according to the computer, I totally have it if I just go here. And after here, here, queen, I can sack the rook, he takes, and I will make a queen and win the game. But didn't have enough time. Lessons learned. Took too much chess notation. Um, and round one ends in a loss. And I am devastated at this point. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, I just lost to a kid. Um, yeah, I'm used to playing online when there's like a little noise thing that happens when you have low time. The clocks there don't have that, so it's really up to you to watch over your own time and manage it well and understand if you're on low time. But I didn't do that. Um, I just remember, at the end of the match, my opponent plays this, and then I'm thinking, and then all of a sudden he's just like, good game. And then I look over, I'm like, no way. Um, but shout out to my opponent. He told me I played really well. He told me that if we had more time, I would have won. I didn't believe him at the time because I actually didn't know that I could chase the pawn in the end. But I didn't have enough time. So even in the analysis, my opponent was right. Um, so shout out to Rayanch. That was round one. All right, round two. I'm gonna try to go a little faster. I'm a little new at like going over this, like analyzing. Let me know in the chat if I'm going too slow, too fast, if this is too boring. Okay, next game. I go outside, I get a drink of water, use the restroom, come back in, and I am ready to get some W's. Um, we got round two here. Whoa, 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 whoa. I don't want any spoilers. Sorry, chat. Close your eyes there. Right. Round two. We make a little oopsie here. Me and my boy William Wen, another 8, 9, or 10-year-old. I was actually, if you remember, playing with the black pieces last round, and in a Swiss, you're supposed to be playing black, then white, then black, then white, or white, then black, then white, then black. Like you're supposed to like switch off what pieces you start with. We accidentally misread the paper that announced the pairings, and I thought that I was playing with the black pieces, and he thought he was playing with the white pieces. But whatever, it's not a big deal. We continue anyways. This kid, William Wen, is maybe my funniest opponent all tournament. As soon as I got there, he was already making jokes about Roblox and stuff. He told me, he was all like, "My dad says you're unrated, so that means you're either really good or really bad." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." And at this point, I just lost, so I'm like, dude, now if this kid beats me, I'm gonna be really sad. So I just have everything to prove here. Um, okay, so anyways, into the analysis. Opponent goes e4. Again, I play the French. This is what I know, so this is what I do. He plays this move, knight f3, which actually in recent analysis of my chess.com games, c5 is the move here. I haven't fully looked into it, but I decided to play it because I thought, why not? If this is, understood to be a good move here. So I just continue natural development, bring out my knights. Apparently, this is the first moment where I kind of make a mistake here. Apparently, this bishop is not supposed to go here. Instead, I'm supposed to oops. Instead, I'm supposed to take here with the knight and do something called the center fork trick, where even though I sacrifice this knight, I then fork the knight and the bishop, but didn't see it. Totally fine. I end up just developing normally. Develop. Oh, oh, oh. Okay, you didn't see that. I'm so sorry, chat. Okay, developing normally. He pushes the pawn, which I didn't like. And this kid, every time he's making a move, he's like, boom, boom. You're not allowed to talk during these, but this kid was talking a lot. And every time I would make a move, he'd be all like, oh, I see how it is. Oh, I see how it is. And he just kept stimming that over and over. I think it was like his vocal stem or something. He was just like, oh, I see how it is. And he kept saying, like, I'm going to play my special move. I'm like, bro, I'm trying to concentrate and not lose to another kid. But anyways, I bring my knight back. Computer doesn't like this, but I mean, what was I supposed to do? If I go here, he's just gonna go takes, takes, and takes, and I feel like that is also not a great position to be in. He's gonna be up a pawn. So I bring the knight back. Knight is just wasting time here, coming forward and coming backwards. He goes knight out, obviously trying to plant this knight here now. So I don't mind that too much because I could just trade, and I think this pawn here is gonna be like super overextended. So I I taunt his knight a little bit. I'm like, what? You're gonna do it? You're gonna hop forward? Do it then. He does do it. I do take, and now he has a super overextended pawn. I don't know how he's gonna defend this pawn. Maybe get the bishop out behind it. I don't know, but this pawn, in my opinion, kind of sucks. I say that now, but actually this pawn's gonna live for a while. So y'all will see. I bring my knight. Finally, my knight can come back out. And this is where the game takes a turn for the worse for my opponent. Here's the analysis. Right now, white is slightly better. And as soon as he plays this move, boom, you can see right here, black is skyrocketing. And the reason for that is this knight is not defended. I just take the knight. It's a simple blunder. Again, this kid is not using any of his time. He's probably used like 2 seconds of time this entire time. I've been like taking my time. I don't want to lose to another kid. But yeah, he just blunders. And I'll go through the rest of the game because it does have some other interesting moments, but I might go kind of quick. I take the bishop because I'm up material, so obviously I take. I castle. He tries to start pushing pawns, attacking the center. I just defend it. I didn't like the idea of if I take, I'm activating his queen. So I defend the pawn instead. He pushes, which I think this is what he was saying he's going to play his special move. I forget. But I was confused why he pushed. I take. He takes with the pawn, which I'm actually well actually he has to take the pawn. So he takes with the pawn. I have pressure on this. I put more pressure on it. And then I actually didn't see this move, and this actually this actually really messed me up here because I was like, shoot, this bishop's gonna suck forever now. And remember this oh, I see how it is. Oh, I see how it is. Um this pawn, remember how earlier I said oh it's too super overextended? Now it's actually doing a really good job of not allowing me to push this middle pawn, and now this bishop is kind of in no man's land. Um, I should have maybe before moving this bishop moved my own pawn so that he wouldn't be able to stop this. But you know, I was distracted. All right, this kid was just like kept doing vocal stims and talking about 6-7 the whole time. I was actually debating telling the one of the coordinators like, "Yo, this kid cannot be talking this much." But I was like, I'm not gonna sweat that hard against a child. But like it was crazy. He was like knocking his own pieces over too. It was crazy. Um anyways, so I see how it is. Okay, here I did not know what to do. I thought maybe just making a simple move like this, making Luft for my king, would be okay. I also didn't want his bishop to eventually come out and pin my knight to my queen. So I thought it was a good move. This bishop sucks though. I should have maybe tried to address that first. But anyways, he brings his rook to the center. I bring my rook. We trade the rooks, which I'm happy about because I'm ahead in material, right? If we just keep trading, I'm gonna win. Um, okay, at this moment, he touches his queen, and he almost actually plays queen f3. Now, chat, can you see why this is a bad move? Who in the chat can tell me what my follow-up to this move is? Queen E1. Queen E1 checkmate. Yes, correct, Jason Boba. Yeah, so I think he saw that, and before he let go of the queen, he had his queen right here, and his hand was still on it. Now, there's a move in chess tournaments, over the board chess, called touch move, or there's a rule called touch move. If you touch a piece, you have to move that piece. So here he was trying to play it off like, oh yeah, I really did want to move the queen, but where should I put it? And then he ended up just plopping it right here, which maybe isn't a bad move, but I could tell he kind of regretted it. He maybe should have developed his bishop instead. Now his queen is a lot less active. It's not in the center anymore. It's like I don't really know what it's doing over here next to the king. It's looking at it. I guess he's defending his own pawn, which does come into play later. But anyways, so I try to get my queen more active, plop it in the center, hit the rook. He moves his rook. I bring my rook to the center. Hits my queen. And you'll see that actually bringing my queen to the center here makes it a big target. And he just keeps hitting my queen. I'm like moving it all over the place. Apparently this is a mistake because why? Oh yeah, because I'm just hanging. I'm just hanging that. Which he does take. Which I'm telling you, these kids, like, they'll be down so much material and I'll be at such a big advantage and they'll still find a way to punish me for my all my smallest mistakes. Anyways, he punishes me for that. Um, I back my bishop up. I decided to put it here, which isn't super great, but I decided like I wanted to defend both of these pawns. If I'd have gone here, sure it's defended by my rook, but then he just takes here, so needed to find kind of suboptimal. This bishop sucks right now. Um, he makes Lou first king. I'm just trying to get my queen active. Hits my queen, hits my queen, hits my queen. And here he's like, he tells me, I forget what he says here, but he's like, he says something along the lines of, your queen has nowhere to go. Your queen is not like, your queen's got to come back to where it came from or something. And then he hits my queen one more time, and he totally missed that I could finally take advantage of this super extended pawn that is not being defended by anything. I mean, he could have defended it, like maybe right here, and my queen would have been like maybe like let's say I just play nothing and then he goes here. My queen is really passive here, and actually, let's see. According to analysis, white is now better, even for me being up an entire piece. Um, but anyways, opponent didn't see that, so it's fine. Take that piece. He's starting to keep saying, "Oh, I see how it is. Oh, I see how it is." It's actually really addicting saying that. So hits my queen again. At this moment, I don't know why I don't just play this move, which I think would be a fine move. Actually, it says it's excellent. But I end up playing queen back here. I think my idea was like I wanted to get my queen back into the game. Uh, but it allowed my opponent to get this move in, which I really hated because now my bishop is just it's just dumb, and I can't even put it here on this super open thing because of this rook. And yeah, I kind of dropped the ball there, but I am winning. I chase away the bishop. I then bring my knight forward in the center of the board. Now my opponent notices something. I've heavily weakened my king here by pushing these pawns. There's a lot of open squares on the dark squares, and he has a dark squared bishop. His queen and his bishop could checkmate me right here. So dude, these kids are so cracked. They're finding resources when they are down tremendous. I take the pawn. He's getting information. He takes my pawn. I didn't even see that. I take the other pawn. I didn't see that until I thought for like a minute. Then he brings his queen out, hitting my knight, and again he is looking at these dark squares. I'm freaking out. I'm like, there's no way he can come back from this. I bet you Chess Engine still thinks I'm way better here because I can defend it, but like already losing in the first round, I was still like heavily freaking out here. Luckily, I found that I'm not going to lose my knight. Um, I could just bring it back. And he attacks my knight again, you know, but I just bring it back here, which I thought was decent because it's at least taking care of these two dark squares. So I only really have to worry about this one right here or this one right here, which my queen is supervising. Um, so he brings his bishop back, obviously looking to checkmate me, right? I then bring my queen forward, looking to maybe um, just put some pressure on his king. Goes here, and I'm not gonna hang checkmate. I think he was hoping that I would hang checkmate here. He kept saying, "Oh, I see how it is" and whatnot. But here, I found what I think is a great move. Let's see if computer likes it. Yeah, computer likes the move. Um, and it's basically to try and get the queen trade. He doesn't want the queen trade, but here I just keep asking for it. I'm not sure what my opponent was thinking here. Maybe just kind of doesn't know what to do. He backs his bishop up. I then pull up on his king. His king is now hit by my queen. And here I finally can get the queens off the board. I'm putting him in check and also hitting his queen. If he moves his king, he loses his queen. So he has to take my queen. I take with the rook. I was a little bit worried about this, but I calculated that if I come back, I'm totally fine here. I basically just need to like eventually move this pawn and put this bishop here, and everything will be okay. He cannot put more pressure on this bishop. But yeah. Anyways, I take the queen back. He hits my rook, which I just happily put all the way back on the board. Starts trying to make some moves on the king side over here. I just trade. I don't think he saw that my knight could take. Then I would just bring it back. It's safe. Uh, I definitely see his idea here. He still has many ideas, and he could still technically eventually checkmate me or win if I'm not careful. But here I bring my rook up. He brings his king over, and I stop taking the notation at this point because I'm under 6 minutes, and I'm really um, traumatized from that last match. So I stopped taking notation. I don't know what other moves I played. I think maybe he went like, I don't know, maybe I finally moved this and he finally went here, and I probably played something along these lines. Oh, I mean, I don't think I played that actually. He played that, but I eventually I make a queen and then I checkmate him somehow. I just don't exactly remember the moves. All right, so that's round two. I'm feeling good. I'm out here chatting with the other adults before round three. One of them hasn't even won a game yet. The other one, he's like from the army or something. Um, or he's like some veteran, and he was just like cussing up a storm around all the kids. I was like, bro, you gotta chill. But he also had lost his first round, and he finally won his second round. At this point, I'm feeling good. It was my first win. I'm ready for my next, round. I have two more matches left. And so sorry, I know I'm saying a lot. I'm just trying to remember what happened. But this next round, I'm just ready to get into it and try to get a win. So, oh, I keep accidentally opening it from the ending. But this next round is against the highest rated player that I've been against all tournament, 1106. And let me tell you, this kid is so tiny. This kid can't have been older than like 7. I didn't even like the kid walked up to the table and I was like, "Where's your parents? How are you just here alone?" Um they looked like they were still like they could still sit in a stroller basically. That's how small they were. Um Yeah, the kid mentioned something like, "Oh, if I lose this, I'm gonna lose a lot of rating because I'm unrated." So I think they lose a lot of rating if they're against someone unrated. I'm not sure, but yeah, I felt bad, but I had to try my hardest. So here we go. Let's get into the game. He plays e4. Again, we're playing the French. Let's do this. We are playing the French. I go e6. We go d5 here, and everything is very normal up until this move. And chat, can you see why this move is a blunder? What would you play as the black pieces here? I could see his idea, and let me tell you, the move is not queen takes queen. You know what queen takes queen does? It allows him to develop his knight. And now he has a pawn in the center, a knight guarding the pawn. I have not developed a single piece, and my king is just in the center of the board. If we look at the analysis in this position, okay, it's very equal, but I personally think that white has a good lead in development here. And we did not punish that blunder. So, chat, I'm gonna ask, pop quiz. Any good moves here? Any suggestions? Black to move. Anybody? Is this thing on? All right, I'm gonna pretend someone in the chat said Queen takes the D pawn. Chat, I'm new to this. Yes, the D pawn was hanging, y'all. The D pawn was hanging, and he just gives me a free pawn right in the opening. It was like I was like a kid in a candy store. I took it so fast, I barely even thought about it. Personally, would checkmate him. Yeah, same. I didn't want to do that to a kid. But anyways, yeah. So I took the free pawn. Kid already looked really sad. I felt really bad, but also really, really happy. Um, he tries to develop. We play some moves. He drops another pawn, which at this point, I'm ecstatic. He gave me all these pawns. He plays this move, and I thought he was gonna try to queenside castle, and I was like, that's illegal. But he wasn't. He just moved his rook. Bring my knight out. He actually found a decent move here, just like, putting some pressure on this open diagonal near my king, and maybe eventually, could use his queen somehow to checkmate me. Um, I bring my knight forward. It's defended by my queen, so he can't take it, and it forks his queen and his bishop. So I get more trades in. I'm trying to trade as much as possible. Uh, bring out my bishop. My idea here is like, let's say he just plays nothing. I'm gonna check. He's gonna move, and I'm gonna somehow pin his queen to his king at some point. Like, I don't know if he just plays like that. Like, it's pinned. That was my whole idea, but you know, he played knight here. I do give him the check, but he covers up with the knight. Smart kid. So now he's trying to prepare to castle here. I get the bishop out of here because I want to castle this side, but I obviously can't because my king can't castle into a check. Just got back, chat. Welcome back, JPN Sushi. Um, So yeah, I'm trying to castle this side because obviously he's not gonna castle this side, right? So if I castle this side, he has to castle this side, and I'm gonna like just start pushing P on him, and he's gonna get cooked. Um, yeah, TLDR chat. If you're just getting here, no big revelations so far. These games are actually pretty similar to what I originally evaluated them as in my head. Although game one, I thought I was completely lost in the end, but it turns out I was completely winning. But it didn't matter because I ran out of time. Game two, I checkmated this kid. He was really funny. He kept doing vocal stems. He kept saying, "Oh, I see how it is. Oh, I see how it is." Time my op for real. Yeah, same. Um, I learned in the second game though not to keep taking chess notation, 'cause I was showing chat earlier, but I was taking notes this entire time. Every time my opponent and I make a move, I take down some notes so I can load them in here and analyze them after the game. Um, but yeah, in the second round, I learned not to do that if my time is too low, so as not to waste time. Anyways, boom, knock away the bishop. Bishop backs up. Castle. Opponent plays this sneaky move, and what is the threat here? What threat is white posing to black? I'm telling y'all, when these kids are back against the wall, they will still be throwing hooks left and right. They are still finding ways to make threats against my king. And I know, this is considered a mistake, but it's easily, if you don't catch his threat, you can fall for it and lose the game. So, chat, yeah, I'm going to ask you, what is his threat here? Do y'all see it? C7. If I just play any old lazy move, bro's gonna checkmate me on C7. Good job, JPN Sushi. one gold star for this chatter. I'm gonna give him mods, give him a free sub or something. All right. Yeah. So I definitely saw that. I what I did there was I actually block off this bishop so he no longer, can see it. I didn't like his move here that he did. He backed it up here. I thought this move was much stronger, just keeping his bishop on like a better place. Here, the one that he did, it just puts it somewhere where it's just bumping into a wall here. It's biting on granite. It's never gonna do anything. Um, so here, I just play this move a6. I am trying to, let's say if he castles, I play this move and basically skewer his queen and his rook. And that's actually what happened, believe it or not. He castled and I played the move. Um, and he counterattacks me. Again, I'm telling you, these kids, they know if I'm getting attacked, I got to do something back to them. So he counterattacks my queen. I'm hitting his queen. He's hitting my queen. But what I calculated was if I just take and he takes, in the end, his knight is hanging. Um, so I think that's what happens. I take his knight, and now I'm up an entire two pawns plus one knight. And here he again, I'm telling you, he doesn't really, he never defends anything. He just keeps attacking my king. To be fair, it's a little bit of a weak king, but I set up a little trap for him right here. Can anybody see the trap? Well, number one, everyone sees this, right? His two rooks are hitting my pawn. Only my king's defending it, so if he takes, I can't take back. So he's hitting my b pawn. I set up a little trap for him right here with bishop to a5. Can anybody see what the trap is? What move could I make here that I had set up with bishop to a5? Chat, you got this. What is the only piece defending this rook? The other rook. And so if this rook can't see this rook, then this rook's going to be a piece of toast. Oh, that's not the saying. This rook is going to be toast. Do you see it yet, chat? Bishop to b6. And now I'm hitting this rook. His other rook is no longer defending it. He can't move here because I'll take. And there's just no way for him to defend this rook. So he tries a desperation move by taking this bishop with his rook, but he takes with the wrong rook. He takes with his rook on the first rank. And chat, can you tell me why this is a mistake? What would you play in this position? Do you take back the rook? Do you block the rooks in? There's a really good... Yo! Zapporo got it. Oh, he wasn't listening, but back rank mate. This is what one of my favorite chess content creators calls daddy issues. His king has problems on the back rank. Nothing's defending him. He's cooked once I ice skate all the way back here. Boom, and he's done for. And I delivered checkmate on the 23rd move. And that is round three. I felt really bad for the kid. I told him he played really great. It's kind of like the vice versa of round one, where the kid told me I played great and I felt horrible. I told this kid he played great. I'm sure he felt horrible, but I'm sure he appreciated that I said that. Um, yeah. I was ecstatic though. I'm 2 out of 3 now, and I really need this last win here on round four in order to be considered in kind of like the top whatever of the tournament. I know a lot of kids out here are probably going to get 4 out of 4, 3.5 out of 4, but I know 3 out of 4 is probably the lowest you can get and have it be considered like a really good tournament for you. So going into round four, I'm like putting my game face on. I'm really nervous. I used the restroom like 4 times in the span of like 10 minutes. Um, but I go into round four and I put my game face on, and it's against no other than, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, than Vitravel Jagath. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. But finally, I'm out here with the white pieces. Um, like I said earlier, chat, I don't know if for those who are just joining us now, I accidentally messed up in round two and played with the black pieces when I should have played with the white. We got it all fixed with the coordinator and it was fine and they logged everything properly. But at this point, I hadn't played with the white pieces at all. I played 3 French defenses using the black pieces. Now it's finally time for me to make my debut with the white pieces. And here I'm against 13-year-old, by the way. I asked him for his age. He's older than the other kids. He actually probably, his voice started getting deeper already. His name is Vitravel. Vetravel. Sorry to my opponent if I'm mispronouncing your name. And he seemed like a really cool guy. He was chatting a lot at the beginning. And he was talking about how, this is maybe his fifth or sixth tournament. He's been playing for, maybe like 6 years now. And yeah, we get into the game. Last round of the Tri-Valley Open expert section. He plays the Sicilian, which I don't really like the Sicilian. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like playing against it, especially. My 2 moves that I play against this move is either the Smith Mora Gambit, which goes like this, and basically the idea is if you take and allow me to get my knight out, I'm just ahead in development. You have not moved anything in your whole back rank, and it just looks like you forgot to set up, or like you set up your pieces and forgot a pawn somewhere. Um, but I didn't play that in this game. I didn't want to play a gambit. I was scared that he was going to be ready against it, ready against it. So I just play the Alapin. Alapin is a much more um, solid opening, I would say. And he plays this, which I'm really not used to. I thought he was gonna like attack the center here, maybe, so then bring his queen out early. I don't know. I would have hated to play against this, but instead he kind of goes a little easy on me and plays this move, which seems really passive in my opinion. So I immediately fight for the center. We trade. Pushes his pawn. I don't like the idea of pushing this pawn, and even if I'm hitting his queen, I just don't like his queen coming out early. That's all. So instead, I figure let's close down the position here. If I close down the position, I'll have time to bring out my pieces, and it'll be kind of a slow. Closed positions in chess usually lead to like slower games where like each opponent is kind of just trying to optimize their position slowly rather than get an attack going right away. So you'll see here that we're just like bringing out our pieces. I throw in this move h3 because I didn't want him to be able to. Actually, kind of don't remember why I throw in this move h3. I think it's because I didn't want him to bring his bishop out here at some point. So I throw in h3, which actually in hindsight, that is a weird move. I don't know why I played that. Oh, it's because I wanted to bring my knight out and I didn't want this. Yes, because then he'll have all the pressure here. Okay, so yeah, h3. I think later on y'all will see this was kind of a mistake by me. Not a mistake, but it kind of weakens a lot of stuff. So he brings bishop out, bring my knight out. Here I didn't like this, so then I play a3. And you can see that like pushing both of these pawns is not always super great. Um, you'll see why later, but yeah. Here I play my first kind of mistake. I didn't like this. I didn't want to take and help him develop. Uh, but also if I don't do anything about it, like let's say I just play a move like this, he's gonna take, and take, and I didn't like that either. So I decided to defend it with the pawn, which apparently is a mistake, but I don't really see why. He just starts developing. I'm developing more as well. Puts his knight here, which I don't know if y'all know the saying, but they say knights on the rim are grim. Knights on the edges here are not that great. Knights are best when they're in the center and they can look at multiple squares. Like right now, my knight is looking at like a bunch of squares, it has like a lot of control. This knight can only really see these squares right here. The other squares that it could see are off the board. It can't go anywhere off to the side. So this knight kind of sucks. It's just kind of looking at this bishop. I continue development, and then he makes this move, and I can see his idea is to bring the queen out. I'm not that scared of it, and you'll see why in a second. Right now, I just try to bring my bishop out and finally kind of complete the development of these pieces. He does do what I was expecting him to do, but now I fork his queen and his bishop. And actually, it says that this was a mistake. Ah, because queen can come in. Interesting. And if I take, this is not great for me. Well, luckily my opponent didn't see that. And instead he just puts his queen all the way back, wasted all those moves, take his bishop, and then I back my bishop up because his knight is now hitting my bishop. So in this position, I quite liked my position. I thought that having the bishop pair here would serve well later on, even though it's not a super open board. It's going to open up eventually, and I think my bishops are going to be much better than his knight and bishop or knight and knight. So we just continue playing. He finally trades. Apparently, I was not supposed to trade there because why? Because now his queen can come back out. All right. I apparently I've been missing queen back out. Okay, so here he brings his bishop out, and he's really eyeing this open diagonal. And here I bring my queen up with the idea to eventually make a battery. Now, a battery is when a queen and a bishop are on the same diagonal, and especially are dangerous to my opponent when it's facing this king. So I'm setting that up. He's bringing his knight over. I bring my bishop over. Apparently there's some missed wins galore right here, which I don't really see why. Apparently his best move is to go here, but he goes here. And apparently my best move was to go here, which I'm never going to see in a million years. So, I don't know. The computer always sees crazy stuff. Here, I'm now threatening a mate if he ever moves this knight. So this knight is stuck. He moves his knight back here, so this knight's not as stuck, because if it ever did move, the other knight is blocking the way. Okay, so, chat, what do you think his threat is right here? Here, I started getting a little scared, because he is bringing a lot of pieces close to my king, and I'm kind of getting low on time again. My main fear right here. Actually, can anyone guess? Like like let's say I just made any random move. What would you play as black? Like if I flip the board right here, what move looks kind of good for black? In my head, I thought this was a really scary move. Knight to f4, hitting my queen, getting his knight on a really juicy square. I can't take it, not right away at least. I'll have to move my queen. I can't go here. I'd have to go like maybe here or here. I don't know. But I just really didn't like that because I thought this queen and this bishop were really strong where they are. And I hated the idea of having to move it from where it was at. So let's see if that was considered a good move. Yeah, apparently it was a good move. Um, but anyways, I did not want to allow that. So I go knight to e2, which apparently isn't that good, but it does stop this. He goes here, which is a bad move. I go here, which apparently is a missed win. What the hell is the move? G3. I was thinking about that too, but at this point, both of us are kind of really confused with this position. It's a really sharp position, and in chess, sharp positions mean there's only a few good moves and a lot of bad moves. So it's really easy to accidentally blunder here. So we're calculating all kinds of things, and there's a lot of possibilities of moves that our opponent can make as well. So it's very difficult to like kind of keep up with the position. And here my opponent finally makes a huge blunder. You can see here if I open the analysis, as soon as he makes that move, white shoots up tremendously here, and white is much better. Can y'all see why white is much better here? Chat. What move can I make here? Do y'all remember what I was saying about this knight? Right now, this knight is the only thing standing in between checkmate. If this knight ever moved, they're getting checkmated. Yes, exactly, JPN Sushi. Get this guy another sub. We can take the bishop, and if he takes with the knight, we checkmate him. He's cooked. So he cannot take back, and he saw that, and he's sighing. He's sad. He's super sad. I'm up a piece in round 4, and I'm really, really excited because I'm like, if I can just win this game now, it should be easy. I should win this game, and I'm gonna go 3 out of 4 in the tournament. I uh, I keep continuing making moves. I trade because I'm up material. I might as well trade. I don't want my opponent to have any tricks, so I'm trying to get his, how many pieces he has down as much as possible. Here, I throw in this kind of tricky move. Again, his knight is pinned, so I'm doing something called putting PP on the PP. I'm putting pressure on the pinned piece. Um, Again, if he takes, it's checkmate, so he can't take. So instead, he defends with his queen, which actually is a pretty good move. It's putting pressure. My king isn't down the center. I trade the knights, and here I make a super big mistake. In my head, what I'm seeing is, um, okay, I was prepared for 3 things, or 2 things. If he took with the knight, I would have taken with the rook, and after takes. Oh, actually, this is really bad. He was going to take. I wasn't even prepared for that. I'm miscalculating everything, and the reason is I'm not seeing this rook on c8. So actually, he took with this. I took. And you could see right here, it's a blunder. In my head, I did see that his queen would take this. I saw it. I saw it, and I thought it was a little scary. But what I thought was, if I take, I thought he would take with check, and I could come back, hitting his queen and threatening checkmate. And I thought in my head, he cannot defend both. He cannot defend his queen and his king at the same time. But unfortunately, what I didn't see was after I made those moves, he had this incredible move. Queen takes c2. And because he has his rook right here, which again, I'm blind to this rook. I don't know. I'm not. If I take back and he takes, this is definitely just a drawn endgame. There's nothing here. If we look at the analysis, it actually says black is slightly better because his rook is so active here. I have to try and trade off my rook, and then he checks me, and it's just not good. And then he puts pressure here, and then Charlie starts pushing his pawns and bringing his king out. It's horrible for me. So instead, I'm like, no, I need to find a way to get my advantage back. We're back to equal, by the way. And I'm astonished here. I'm like, how did I find a way to throw this game that I had a huge advantage for? It's round 4 too, and a lot of the other players are already done playing their games. It's just us two at this point. And it's at this point my opponent offers his draw for the first time. He asked me, would you be open to taking a draw? And I say, no, I'm sorry. I have to go for it. I couldn't go for the draw. I couldn't go for a 2.5 out of 4. I needed 3 out of 4. So I make another move. I'm threatening. Wait, chat. I don't know if you do puzzles, but let's say he just makes some random move like this. This is checkmate. Boom, boom, boom. Queen sack and daddy issues on the back rank. But of course, my opponent was not born yesterday. He's seen that a million times. He plays his classic daddy issues. Yeah, he plays his puzzle rush. So he defends it with his queen. Can no longer do that. I then attack his pawn, threatening to take with check. Defends that as well. And at this point, I throw in this kind of weird move. I want to put more pressure on this pawn. Kind of running out of time, so I'm trying to just figure out what moves I can make that aren't losing. So I go rook here, and you might be saying, "What? Can't you just take?" No, it's pinned, so he can't take.
putting immense pressure now on this pawn. But obviously, I was actually calculating he'd go here, and then I didn't know what I would do at this point. But actually, he goes here. And I thought it was maybe not as good of a move. I'm not sure. But I end up just moving my rook back. And here he tries to trade the rooks. Actually, here I didn't like the idea of him having this rook on this open file near my king. So I actually do take, and it's at this point my opponent asked me for another draw. He was like, "Would you reconsider agreeing to a draw?" And I said, "Sorry, no, no, thank you." And bro is really sad about it because at this point he's pretty low on time, and I could tell that even though it's a very equal position, I think it's like dead equal if you look at the analysis. Yeah, it's zeros. I'm just ahead by like I want to say like almost 10 minutes. This guy's got like 2 minutes on his clock and I got like 12. So I'm just like I'm just gonna bleed his clock. I'm gonna try and just keep going for a good end game here. And actually, this is my first move towards a good end game, and this is where he screws up. I bring my king closer to the center, and do y'all remember in round one what I learned? When your opponent makes a king move in the end game, you also have to move closer to the center, and my opponent did not do so. Um, he instead checked me. I moved my king even closer to the center. Um, and here he makes the ultimate mistake. He thinks that it's a draw, but because I made my king much more active, now trading off these queens is much better for me because my king is here with my pawns. His king hiding in his basement. He's not. I don't know what he's doing. And now I'm hitting his pawn. What does he do? He defends it. And here I make this move, which I think is a really good move, e6. And now this pawn is steps out of the way so my king can come and be even more active, hitting this pawn. And y'all, I don't know how he's ever going to defend this pawn on d5. His king is so far away. He moves his king, I move my king. Um, he moves a pawn. I take, and here I just slowly but surely convert. His king is getting checked left and right. I move my king here because if I just check him right away, he's gonna go here, and there's no way for my king to get in. It's horrible for me. So I scoot over here so that my king could eventually hold one of the pawn's hands. I check him. He scoots out of the way. I move my king up, and there's nothing stopping this pawn now. And I eventually make a queen, take, and my opponent resigns on move 50, which I think is my longest game in the entire tournament. And I end 3 out of 4 at the Tri Valley Open in Dublin, California. And that's how it goes. I actually ended up getting a trophy for I apparently um, for all of the competitors rated under 1,000, I finished second place. So got a trophy for it. I'll probably in the YouTube video edit a picture of it in there. It's downstairs. I'm not gonna run down and go get it because I'm lazy. Maybe I'll edit in some pictures of me at the tournament. I have one of me holding up the trophy with the other winners. I'll probably blur out their faces though because they're all children, and I don't want to expose them on the internet without their permission. So thanks, chat. Thanks for watching. I hope y'all found this maybe instructive. I don't know. Um, it was very helpful for me to kind of go over the games and understand, if my head was in the right place during them. I think I really conquered my nerves there after the first game, and I think in future tournaments I'll be able to like move more confidently. According to the tournament results, my estimated rating is 1219, I want to say. So when I go back and do another tournament, either in February or March, I will no longer be able to play in experts under 1200. I will have to play in championship section, which will probably end up being the 1200 plus one. So thank you, chat. Um, I'll probably do a stream like this after every tournament and recap it, analyze my games, study my games, and yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed.
Good night, and thank you for tuning in.